The alien sky was the color of burnt copper, and thick clouds twisted in strange shapes above the land. Captain Elias Varan stood alone on the rocky plain, his visor fogged with his own breath. His ship had fallen silent hours ago, its communication dish broken during landing. Now he was nothing but a human speck in a world that did not welcome visitors. The storm had come faster than he expected. At first it was only a low hum in the wind, but soon the ground shook with pressure. Small shards of crystal-like dust lifted from the soil and spun into the air. The storm here was not like storms on Earth. It was sharper, dangerous, a wall of glittering knives carried by violent winds. Elias's suit sensors screamed warnings. The storm would cut through metal, tear flesh in seconds. He looked around the plain for shelter. His eyes caught a shadow in the cliff wall, a dark opening. A cave. He had no other choice. The wind howled louder as he ran. Shards bounced against his helmet, leaving scratches. His heart pounded as he leapt over rocks and forced himself into the narrow entrance. The air inside was damp and heavy. His suit lights cast a pale glow on the stone walls. For the first time in hours, he felt relief. The storm raged behind him, filling the world outside with a roar. Inside the cave, the noise was muffled. Elias leaned against the wall, breathing slowly. Safe, he whispered to himself. But the word did not feel true. He walked deeper into the cave. The ground sloped downward and water dripped from cracks above. His boots left marks in the thin layer of dust. The further he went, the colder the air became. His helmet light revealed strange patterns carved into the stone. They were not natural. Lines, circles, and symbols etched by something intelligent. Elias frowned. Not just a cave, then. He reached a wide chamber where the ceiling vanished into shadows. The air smelled old, like wet stone mixed with something sour. He turned in a slow circle, shining his light across the walls. Bones lay scattered across the floor, long, brittle remains of creatures he did not recognize. Their rib cages were sharp, their skulls cracked. A chill ran down his spine. He switched off his light for a moment, listening. The cave was silent except for the distant hiss of the storm outside. He was alone, or so he thought. Then a voice drifted through the dark. It was soft, low, and stretched like wind through hollow wood. My first fresh meal. Elias froze. Every nerve in his body turned to ice. The words echoed off the stone, repeating again and again until they faded. He could not tell where the voice came from. His suit sensors detected no movement, no heat signatures. Yet something had spoken. He turned his light back on quickly, sweeping the beam across the chamber. The bones seemed to stare back at him. Shadows stretched and twisted. His throat was dry, his breathing shallow. Who's there? He said, forcing his voice to stay calm. Silence. Then the same voice again. Closer this time. Not bones. Not dust. Flesh. Warm. Alive. Elias felt the ground shake slightly under his boots. Something was moving in the dark. He backed toward the tunnel he had entered from. His mind raced. It talks. It understands. But what is it? The whisper came again, almost playful. Do not run. The storm outside will cut you apart. Stay, little flame. Elias's light caught movement at the far end of the chamber. Something huge coiled in the shadows. Its surface reflected faintly like wet stone. He could not see its full shape, only parts of it shifting slowly as if it filled half the chamber. Who are you? Elias asked, his voice shaking. The answer came like a purr. Hunger, waiting so long now. My first fresh meal. His heart thumped against his ribs. He lifted his wrist communicator, though it was useless. His ship's dish was broken. Still, he felt safer holding it like a tool or weapon. The creature moved closer. Elias caught a glimpse of eyes, large, dimly glowing like embers buried in ash. They blinked slowly, watching him. The ground vibrated as it breathed. He forced his mind to stay clear. Running was useless. The storm outside was death, and the thing inside was worse. But panic would kill him faster. He had survived disasters before. He needed to think like a human, creative, stubborn, unpredictable. Listen, he said carefully. I'm not your enemy. I don't belong here. I only came to escape the storm. The creature laughed. The sound was deep, echoing, like stone breaking under pressure. Storm passes. But I remain. And you remain. Sooner or later, you will be mine. Elias kept stepping back until his shoulders touched the cold wall. His light flickered, catching fragments of metal half buried in the ground. Strange machines, rusted and broken, lay scattered among the bones. He crouched quickly, pretending to adjust his boot. In truth, he picked up a small piece of the broken metal. His hand shook, but he held it tightly. The whisper circled around him, moving from one side of the chamber to the other. Your kind. Different. Not like those before. You smell strong. You burn like fire, but all fires end, and when you end, I will feed. Elias swallowed hard. He had no weapon, no escape, only time. The storm outside might last hours or days. He needed to survive every second inside this cave. The creature's glowing eyes blinked again, closer now. Its massive shape blocked the far wall. Yet it did not strike. It waited, curious. Elias understood something then. It was not only hunger that kept the beast alive. It was loneliness. The voice was too eager, too desperate, as if speaking to another living being for the first time in centuries. He tightened his grip on the metal shard and forced himself to speak. If you're going to eat me, he said, steady now, why wait? Why talk? The creature's laugh rolled again, shaking dust from the ceiling. Because it has been long, very long. Before I take the fire from you, I want to hear it burn. The storm outside roared louder, sealing Elias inside the cave with the ancient predator. And in that dark chamber, surrounded by bones and shadows, Elias realized the real danger was not just being eaten. It was being studied. The creature did not see him as simple prey. It saw him as something new, something rare, something worth keeping alive, for now. Elias's heart pounded, but his mind sparked with a thought. If it waits to feed, then I have time. And if I have time, I can find a way. The storm might have driven him into the cave, but survival would depend on what he did next. The whisper came one last time, soft and cruel. Rest, little flame. Tomorrow the hunt begins. The storm outside did not end. Hours passed, maybe more, but the sound never faded. The cave shook with every blast as if the world itself was breaking apart. Elias sat against the wall of the chamber, his helmet light dimmed to save power. The bones around him looked pale and sharp, silent reminders of what had happened to others who had come here before. The voice in the dark had grown quiet. But Elias knew it was still there. The air carried a strange pressure, as though something vast and heavy breathed in and out unseen. The predator waited, hidden in the shadows, watching him. Elias kept still. His body wanted to shake, but he forced calm into his muscles. He remembered his training. Fear wastes energy. Energy keeps you alive, he whispered to himself. Think. Always think. His eyes searched the chamber again. Rusted metal fragments lay mixed with the bones. Strange symbols carved into the walls seemed to glow faintly when his light touched them. Whoever had lived here before had tried to leave a mark, maybe even a warning. He reached for one of the metal shards he had taken earlier. It was heavy, shaped like part of a blade, but broken. Still, it gave him some sense of protection. His suit's sensors showed nothing but cold stone around him, but Elias no longer trusted them. The predator moved differently, as if it could hide even from machines. A low chuckle rumbled from the darkness. You hold scrap in your hand. Do you think it will save you? Elias tightened his grip on the shard. It makes me feel less weak, he said. The voice slid closer, wrapping around him like smoke. Courage. I remember that. Long ago, others showed it too. For a moment, before they broke. Elias's mind caught the hint. Others. That meant this beast had faced intelligent life before. He looked at the carvings again and wondered if they belonged to those victims. He steadied his breathing and asked, who were they? There was silence at first. Then slowly the predator answered. They were mine, the ones who built this place. They thought they were gods. They thought they could bind me, starve me, end me. But they could not. In the end, they were nothing but voices that faded into dust. The word struck Elias like ice, so it had been trapped here. For centuries? He dared to ask, and you waited all this time? Just to feed again. A deep laugh echoed through the cave. Not only to feed, to remember, to dream. Hunger keeps me alive, but it also keeps me awake. And now at last something different comes. You. The way it spoke made Elias uneasy. He was not just food. He was something the creature found interesting. That gave him an idea. If he could keep its attention, keep it talking, maybe he could buy time. He leaned back and said, if you wanted me gone, you would have taken me already. The shadows stirred. Elias's light caught movement. Massive coils sliding along the ground, then vanishing again. The predator was vast, larger than he imagined. Yet it was playing with him. "You are not wrong," the voice whispered. "You are fire, small but burning bright. I wish to watch it longer before I consume it." Elias forced himself to nod, though his chest tightened with fear. "Good. As long as it waits, I live." He thought about his ship, broken and silent on the plain. The storm had trapped him here, but maybe it would end soon. He had to survive long enough to escape. That meant understanding his enemy. He asked again, more boldly, "What are you?" The silence that followed stretched for long minutes. Finally, the answer came, "I am Zitherus." The name hissed and cracked like stone splitting. "Hunter, last of the eternal beasts, prisoner of this tomb." Elias repeated the name softly, feeling its weight. "Zitherus?" The beast seemed to enjoy hearing its name spoken. "Yes, remember it. When your bones join the others, they will know whose shadow claimed you." Elias looked around at the piles of bones. Some were small, others huge, with strange shapes he did not recognize. None of them were human. The idea of being the only human skeleton in this place filled him with a quiet rage. He refused to let his story end here. "I won't die in this cave," Elias said firmly. The air trembled as Zitherus laughed again. Every voice said that. Every flame thought it would last forever. But all went dark. And so will you. Elias felt a shiver crawl down his spine, but he did not let it show. Instead, he stood and walked slowly around the chamber, pretending to study the walls. He traced his glove over the carvings. Circles overlapped with jagged lines, and near the ground he saw what looked like star maps. His heart quickened. These carvings were not random. They were records, perhaps left behind by those who tried to imprison Zitherus. If he could understand them, maybe he would find a way to fight back. Behind him, the predator shifted, massive and slow. Elias heard stone grind against stone. The voice followed him. "Do you hope to find secrets in their marks?" "Their secrets could not save them." "They will not save you." "Maybe not," Elias said softly. "But humans. We find paths where none exist. That is how we survive." The beast grew quiet. Elias could feel its gaze, heavy and unblinking. Then came the whisper, softer now. "Different, yes, I see it. You are not like them." For the first time, Elias sensed something almost like curiosity, even respect. It gave him hope. The storm outside roared louder, shaking the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling, and part of the wall cracked. Zitherus's body shifted through the shadows, coiling around the chamber like a serpent made of stone and muscle. Elias's light caught brief glimpses of its scale-like skin glistening in the damp air. "You cannot leave," Zitherus said. "The storm keeps you. I keep you. You belong to this cave now." Elias forced a smile he did not feel. "We'll see about that." The predator gave another low laugh. "Yes, we will." Elias sat down again, careful to keep the broken shard hidden in his hand. His mind raced with possibilities. If Zitherus was bound to this cave, maybe the old machines lying around had been part of the prison. He needed to learn how they worked. He needed time. And time for now was still his. He closed his eyes briefly, resting against the stone wall. The whisper floated once more through the chamber, softer this time, almost like a lullaby. "Rest, little flame. Dream your short dream. Tomorrow the hunt begins." Elias did not answer. He kept his breathing steady, pretending to sleep while his mind stayed sharp. Because he knew one thing now. If the beast planned to hunt him, then he had to become the hunter first. The storm outside did not calm. Its endless roar became part of the cave itself, like the heartbeat of a dying world. Elias had not slept. He could not. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt those burning eyes watching him from the shadows. But the silence of Zitherus was worse than its voice. The beast no longer whispered. It only waited, breathing slow and heavy, filling the chamber with dread. Elias sat on the cold stone floor, tracing his glove over the carvings on the wall. The strange lines and circles pulled at his thoughts. They were not random scratches. They told a story, though in a language older than anything he knew. Still, the human mind had a way of seeing patterns, and Elias had time. He spoke aloud as he studied, not only for himself but also to test if the beast listened. "These circles, they look like stars. Here, this spiral, maybe a galaxy map. These lines, they connect the stars. Travel paths, maybe?" The chamber rumbled with a deep chuckle. "You play with ghosts," Zitherus said. "Their wisdom did not save them. Why do you think it will save you?" Elias turned toward the glowing eyes in the dark. Because they weren't human. We don't give up just because others failed. The beast's laughter was long, rolling like thunder. Yet when it stopped, Elias thought he heard a note of caution in its tone. Strange flame. You speak like a challenge. Elias ignored the warning and kept studying. The carvings stretched across the chamber, leading deeper into the tunnels. He followed them carefully, his helmet light shining on broken machines half buried in dust. One looked like a ring of stone and metal, large enough to walk through. Its surface was cracked, its inner parts broken, but he felt a faint pull when he stood close to it, a soft hum like a machine dreaming in its sleep. He touched it gently. "What is this?" he asked. Jitharus's voice echoed behind him. "A gate. They used it to bind me, to cage me in light and chains of energy. But gates break. Chains rust. In the end, they became bones at my feet." Elias stepped back, his pulse racing. A prison. That explained the machines and the carvings. This was not a simple cave, it was a tomb designed to hold the beast. His thoughts sharpened. If they caged it once, maybe I can again. He turned toward the shadow. "If they trapped you before, then you are not as strong as you pretend." For the first time, the beast roared. The chamber shook, dust and rocks falling from above. The sound was like a mountain breaking apart. Elias stumbled, nearly falling, but forced himself to stay on his feet. The voice came fierce and cold. "Careful, Flame. Mock me again and I may end the game early." Elias's chest tightened, but he met the glowing eyes with steady resolve. "Do it then. But if you end me now, you lose your chance to know what humans can do." There was silence, heavy, endless silence. Then slowly the predator laughed again, softer this time. "You gamble with your life, little Flame. Very well. Show me what humans can do. Burn brighter, before you go dark." Elias turned back to the machines, hiding the tremble in his hands. His bluff had worked. For now. He crouched near another device, a broken console covered in dust. Strange symbols glowed faintly when he brushed them. The energy was weak, but still alive. If he could understand even part of it, he might find a way to reactivate the prison. Hours passed as Elias studied, moving from wall to wall, machine to machine. His mind built connections, piecing together the story. He saw carvings of tall, slender beings with long arms and glowing eyes. Xitharus's creators, perhaps. They stood in circles around the beast, raising their hands as beams of light trapped it. Another carving showed the beast breaking free, tearing through its makers, leaving only bones behind. The final carving showed the storm outside, crystal shards raining from the sky. Elias realized with a shiver the storms were not natural. They were part of the prison system designed to keep the beast trapped on this world. He whispered to himself. The storm. It's not just weather. It's the lock. Behind him, Xitharus's voice rumbled. You see more than they did. They used chains. You see the storm itself. Clever Flame, Elias froze. He had not meant to speak aloud. The beast listened to everything, but maybe that was not a weakness. Maybe it was a weapon. He stood and said boldly, If the storm is the lock, then maybe it keeps you here forever. You'll never leave this cave. Never taste the stars again. The beast growled, a deep, low sound that made the stones quake. Do not test me, Elias forced a smile. I'm not testing. I'm telling the truth. You think I'm your meal, but I may be the only one who can help you escape this prison. Silence. A silence so sharp it felt like a blade pressing against his throat. Then softly, almost carefully, the beast whispered, Explain. Elias's mind raced. He had no real plan, only a desperate thought. But desperation was human strength. He spoke slowly, weaving his words with care. Your makers built this prison. They trapped you with machines and storms. I've seen their designs. I can learn how they worked. Maybe even restart them. Or maybe find a way to turn them off. The beast shifted, coils moving in the dark. The sound was like mountains grinding together. You offer freedom. Elias raised his chin. I offer a choice. If you want me as prey, kill me now. But if you want freedom, keep me alive. Let me study. Let me try. The silence stretched again. Elias's heart hammered so loud he thought it might give him away. At last, the beast's voice returned, softer than before. Interesting. Very interesting. You speak like a maker, not prey. Perhaps I will wait. Perhaps you will show me something worth watching. Elias let out a slow breath. He had bought more time. Time to think, to plan, to survive. He turned back to the carvings, hiding the relief on his face. His fingers traced the lines again, his mind burning with questions. If I can understand this prison, maybe I can turn it against Cytheris. Maybe I can trap it again. But another thought came, quieter, darker. What if I really can set it free? What would that unleash on the galaxy? He pushed the thought away. Survival came first. Answers would come later. Behind him, the beast whispered once more, almost like a promise. Burn, little flame. Burn bright. Show me the fire of humanity. And when the time comes, we will see if you are prey or something more. Elias clenched his jaw, his hands tightening on the broken metal shard in his pocket. He had no doubt now. The cave was not only a prison for the beast, it was a test for him, and only one of them would leave it alive. The storm outside still roared, but Elias no longer paid attention to it. His world had shrunk to the cave, the shadows, and the glowing eyes of Cytheris. The beast no longer pressed to kill him right away. It waited, curious, watching. Elias used that time. He moved carefully through the tunnels, studying the broken machines left behind by the ancient makers. Some still hummed faintly, others were dead. The carvings told fragments of stories, but Elias filled the gaps with imagination and human instinct. He began to see the cave not only as a prison but as a battlefield. Every step he took, he thought of traps. He crouched near a broken console, brushing away dust. The device had once carried energy lines through the stone. He tapped it with his glove and felt a weak vibration. It was not dead, just sleeping. He smiled faintly. I can use this, he whispered. From the shadows, the beast's voice echoed. You scratch at bones of the past. Do you hope to build a weapon from dust? Elias did not look up. Maybe. Dust can choke even the strongest lungs. Stones can crush the tallest towers. Humans use what they find. That's why we survive. Cytheris laughed, a low, rolling thunder that made the air shake. Yes, you are different. Not strong, not sharp, but clever. Show me your tricks, little flame. Show me how far you will burn. Elias kept his face hard, though his hands trembled as he worked. He studied the machines for hours, tracing lines, testing fragments, and shifting broken pieces. He could not rebuild the whole prison, but he could use parts of it. The cavern became his chessboard. He placed metal shards in narrow tunnels where sound would echo, making footsteps seem larger. He dragged bones into piles, setting them in places where they might trip the massive beast. He carried fragments of glowing crystal dust from the storm, scattering them across the floor to mark safe paths for himself. It was not much, but it was something. Each time he moved, he felt the beast's eyes following him. It never struck, not yet. The waiting was worse than an attack. But Elias forced himself to stay calm. He remembered a lesson from survival training. If the predator watches, let it watch. If it learns you, then you must learn it faster. He began to observe Cytheris as well. He noticed that the beast rarely came into full light. Its body was massive, serpent-like, with scales that shimmered like wet stone. But the eyes, dim, glowing embers, never looked away from him. It was proud, patient, and amused. That patience was dangerous, but it also gave Elias room to plan. Late into the long hours, when the storm still screamed outside, Elias rested near one of the broken gates. His body was weak, but his mind stayed sharp. He whispered softly, knowing the beast would hear. You said you were a hunter. But hunters take risks too, don't they? The voice came smooth and deep. Yes, without risk there is no hunt. Prey that lies down is no prize. Prey that runs, fights, burns bright. That is the hunt I remember. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Then hunt me. But know this, I'll hunt you too. The chamber shook with a rumble of laughter. Good, at last, a flame with teeth. Tomorrow the game begins. When Elias woke, if it could be called waking in a place without sun, the storm outside had shifted. The roar was softer, though still dangerous. He guessed the storm was ending. Time was short. He began moving fast, finishing his traps. He dragged fallen stones into piles, marked walls with sharp scratches, and set small shards of metal where they would reflect his light in misleading ways. He whispered to himself, turn the cave into a maze. Make the hunter blind. Make the prey vanish. Cytheris' voice floated behind him, calm and almost playful. You prepare well. I almost forget you are food. Elias gritted his teeth but said nothing. Finally, when his work was done, he stood in the center of the chamber, shard of metal in his hand, and called out, Cytheris, you said you wanted the hunt. Come then. Let's see who is hunter and who is prey. The silence that followed was heavy, pressing. Then came the sound of stone grinding, air moving, scales sliding. The beast uncoiled from the shadows, massive and endless. Elias's helmet light caught only glimpses. A head larger than his body. Coils thicker than pillars, eyes like smoldering fire. "You dare call me," Zitherus whispered, voice deep enough to rattle the bones on the floor. "Then run, little flame. Let the hunt begin." Elias turned and sprinted down the tunnels, his boots striking the stone. Behind him, the beast moved, its body scraping walls, the sound like mountains sliding apart. The chase began. Elias darted through the tunnels he had marked with crystal dust, turning sharply, sliding behind stones, forcing the beast to follow. He heard it smash through bones, coil around pillars, roar in frustration when echoes misled it. At one turn, he triggered a broken console he had wired with crystal fragments. The machine sparked, filling the tunnel with a burst of light and sharp sound. Zitherus recoiled, roaring in pain. Elias whispered fiercely, "It works." He ran again, leading the beast deeper, past traps he had set. At one point, he cut through a narrow passage where he had stacked loose rocks. When Zitherus forced its massive body through, the stones collapsed, slowing it. Dust filled the air, choking the space. "You dare!" The beast roared, shaking the cavern. But Elias was already moving, slipping through side paths, using the crystal markers only he could see. He was turning the hunt. Hours passed in the deadly game. Sometimes the beast nearly caught him, its coils slamming down close enough to crack the stone. Sometimes Elias slipped away, using sound, dust, and shadows to vanish. Each time Zitherus's voice came deeper, more frustrated. "You run well, Flame. You burn brighter than I thought. But all flames die. All flames die!" Elias's body ached. His breath came heavy, but his mind stayed sharp. He knew he could not fight the beast with strength. He could only outthink it, outlast it. At last he reached the wide chamber again, the broken gate glowing faintly. He turned and shouted, his voice echoing, "You wanted the hunt, Zitherus? But maybe it is you who is hunted." The beast surged forward, massive and terrible, eyes blazing. But Elias was ready. He had dragged energy lines from 3 broken consoles into the chamber, linking them with crystal shards. Now he slammed his shard of metal against the final line. The machines woke. Light burst from the cracks in the walls, sharp and blinding. The chamber filled with sound like 1,000 storms. Zitherus roared, thrashing, its massive coils slamming against the stone. "What have you done?" Elias shielded his eyes, heart pounding. "Turned your prison into a weapon." The beast's body shook violently, its roar breaking into a scream of rage and pain. But Elias knew it was not enough. The machines were too broken to hold the beast forever. He had bought time, not victory. Still, as the light burned, he stood tall. For the first time since entering the cave, he was not only prey. He was a challenger, and the game had changed. The cave shook, dust falling from the ceiling as Zitherus writhed in the burst of light and sound Elias had created. The massive predator roared, shaking the walls, but it did not strike. It had been stunned, but it was not defeated. Its glowing eyes narrowed, studying Elias. The human felt his heart pound, yet he stood tall, gripping the metal shard in his hand. His clothes were torn, his breath came ragged, but his mind burned with clarity. He had survived storms, traps, and a predator that had once destroyed its creators. Now it was a matter of courage, cleverness, and human spirit. Zitherus slowly moved forward, every coil of its massive body flexing, muscles shimmering under the dim light. Its voice rolled through the chamber. "You burn bright, Flame. Very bright, but all flames fade. Soon yours will too." Elias did not flinch. Instead, he took a careful step forward. "Maybe," he said, voice steady, "but even a short flame can leave a mark." The predator's eyes seemed to flicker with curiosity. It paused, listening. Elias realized something then. Zitherus did not understand humans. It had studied prey before, but never prey that fought with mind, courage, and heart. He continued, "You have lived centuries alone. You have waited for prey that runs, that burns. But I am not like others. I am human. We survive even when the odds are against us. We adapt, we create, we think." The cavern vibrated with the beast's low growl. "Bold words for food," Zitherus said, circling slowly, trying to intimidate. "Words will not stop hunger." Elias held up the shard. "No, but words can make a predator think. And thought is survival." Zitherus paused. Its massive head tilted slightly, a gesture almost like interest. Elias saw an opportunity. He stepped closer, carefully, his eyes never leaving the glowing embers in the beast's face. "I don't want to die here," he said softly, "but I also don't want to fight blindly. There's a choice. You can kill me or you can learn something new, something you have not seen in centuries. The silence that followed was so heavy, Elias felt it pressing against his chest. Then slowly a voice softer than before came. What is this? New thing? I am human, Elias said. We are clever. We are brave. And we are unpredictable. If you spare me, I can teach you. I can show you what life beyond this cave feels like. What the stars feel like. You will not just feed. You will understand. Scytherus was quiet for long moments. Its massive form shifted in slow, deliberate coils. Dust fell as the ground trembled under its weight. Finally it spoke. Curious flame. You offer freedom, but what guarantee do I have? Elias smiled faintly, though his body shook. No guarantee. But that is life. You either take a chance or you remain trapped forever. You have waited centuries alone. Do you want to keep waiting? Or do you want to see what else exists? The beast's eyes burned brighter, and for a long time nothing moved. Elias held his breath, waiting, heart pounding with the knowledge that one wrong move would mean his end. Finally, Scytherus let out a low, rumbling sound, almost a laugh. Bold, very bold. You speak not as prey, but as a maker of paths. Perhaps I will see this beyond you. I will spare your life. For now. Relief surged through Elias, but he did not let it show. He kept his mind alert. Thank you, he said carefully. I won't forget this. The predator moved back, coiling around the chamber in a more relaxed posture, though still massive and dangerous. Its glowing eyes never left Elias, but the tension eased slightly. Elias took a cautious step toward the broken gate he had studied. If we are to leave this cave, he said, we need a plan. I can reactivate some of the old machines. They are weak, but they will give us power. Scytherus watched him, silent. Then in a low whisper it said, Do not think I am tame. I will not follow blindly. Show me, human. Elias nodded, understanding. This was not trust. It was curiosity. And curiosity could be guided. He moved through the chamber, touching the old machinery, tracing energy lines with crystal fragments from the storm outside. Slowly, faint hums returned to the devices. Power flowed unevenly through the cave, enough to light certain paths and create barriers in others. The predator watched, coiling along the walls. Elias felt a strange connection form, a mutual understanding born of respect and survival instinct. Your species, fragile yet fierce, Scytherus said. I see why others feared you. You fight not just with strength, but with mind and spirit. Curious flame indeed. Elias continued to work, connecting the last fragments. The cave began to glow faintly, the machines humming with renewed energy. Shadows flickered, and the carvings on the walls seemed to come alive in the pale light. Good, Scytherus said. You may have learned something I did not expect. Survival, intelligence. Perhaps that is why your kind burns bright. Elias stopped, stepping back. It is not about strength. It is about courage and choice. You chose to wait. I chose to act. That is why humans endure. The predator circled him slowly, silent now, thinking. Then it spoke again. Very well, Flame. We leave together. But know this, I am not tame. I am not yours. I am Scytherus, last of my kind. And I will watch you. Elias nodded. I would expect nothing less. And I will watch you too. But together we can leave this place. The storm outside had faded, leaving the rocky plain silent. Light from the twin suns of the alien world began to seep through cracks in the cave ceiling. Elias guided Scytherus toward the tunnel leading to open land. The beast moved with massive grace, careful not to crush the fragile human. As they emerged, Elias saw the horizon filled with jagged mountains and the remnants of ancient civilizations buried in the sand. Scytherus paused, looking out over the world. Its voice was deep and almost thoughtful. Stars, far away, cold, endless. I have never seen them. Elias smiled, exhausted but proud. Then let's see them together. You will learn, and so will I. The predator's glowing eyes met his. For the first time, Elias saw respect there. Not friendship, not trust, but acknowledgement. Humans were not weak. They were clever, courageous, and unpredictable. You are different, Scytherus said softly. Perhaps I will learn from you. Elias laughed softly. And perhaps I will learn from you too. That is what it means to survive, Scytherus. Not just to live, but to adapt, to understand, to rise. The alien winds of the now calm storm brushed against their faces as they stepped fully onto the plain. The predator followed silently, a massive shadow behind the small human figure. Elias turned back once, looking at the cave that had been a tomb, a battlefield, and a classroom. "We leave this place," he said, "but humans leave marks everywhere. That is who we are." Zithris coiled beside him, and for the first time in centuries it did not roar. It did not hunt. It simply watched, curious, waiting to see what this species called human could do next. And in that moment, Elias knew something humans always knew. Survival was not just strength. It was courage. It was intelligence. And above all, it was the will to act when the world expected them to fail. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the barren land. Humans and predator walked together toward the horizon. One carried the fire of life. The other carried the wisdom of ages. Together they faced the unknown, and the galaxy would remember that humans, even in a storm, could shine brighter than any predator, any beast, or any force that tried to stop them. The cave behind them was silent now, but its walls held the story of one small human who refused to bow. A flame burned bright,